evening everyone. I hope you're okay. Happy New Year and welcome back. This is my first video of 2026, although knowing me it'll probably go out in like February or something like that. But I hope you all had a wonderful festive period, whatever and however you did to choose to celebrate. I had a really nice time. I had a really nice Christmas. It was quiet, it was intentionally quiet. We've often spent a number of years going back and forth between different family members, rotating who we see each year. And, you know, plenty of people do that. And I think this year we felt a little bit like we were exhausted by that. You know, this year we want to just be on our own, do our own thing. We'll still see people. We did still see people and we did still work our way around to different members of the family, but it felt a little bit more slow. You know, less kind of we've got to get to this person and this person and that person. But no, we had a wonderful time. I posted a few videos of like what we cooked and baked around Christmas, and I did a little short of our Christmas dinner, which turned out really well. I was really, really happy with our Christmas dinner. I've also had a couple of weeks off work, which has meant I've got to spend the winter days with the pony as well, which is nice because it was kind of getting to the point where in winter and with working, I was confined to going to see him in the evenings. And by that point, it's dark, we're on a busy yard, I can't go for a hack in the dark, sometimes the schools are busy, that kind of thing. And so it can be difficult. And so it's been so nice to actually spend the days with him. So I'm sad to be going back to work in that sense. I can't remember if I told you, but I did recently start a new job, which is a bit of a big step up for me. It's going okay, but I'm someone that copes better when I am busy and I know exactly what I need to do, when and how I need to do it, and I'm really good at it. Being out of my comfort zone is, you know, testing me, shall we say. But I'm optimistic. I'm looking forward to the challenge ahead, and I think I'll get over the initial hurdles and the initial shock. I'm really interested to know what you guys got up to anyway, with your holiday period, if you manage to have a holiday period. I'm always really interested to know how people spend their time and how, I think we all assume that everyone does the same kind of thing on and around Christmas, but that's not necessarily the case. And I was reflecting back on whether I would like to have a bigger Christmas next year or whether I would like to stick to it just being, you know, us two. And I think I kind of see the value and the specialness, that's not the word, but you know what I mean, in both. Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of thinking around that. So if anyone wants to share how they spent their festive period, then I would love to hear it. I thought I would take you along with me on a little walk that we did on Boxing Day, which was to a place in Cheshire called Dunham Massey. We have been to Dunham Massey many times. It's you know, not a million miles from where we live. It's just kind of a big National Trust estate and park, and there's a lot of wild deer there. Yeah, so come along and just breathe in the fresh air. You're in it now. That's it.
Pigeon poos on you.
What pigeon poo?
I hope that pigeon poos on you.
Oh. Why do you hope the pigeon poos on me? I'm not trying to film you. You just got in my way.
This will be probably carriages.
Oh. I think it's a little bit early. Is it the type of deer that makes them so small?
These are all female. Steaks are much bigger.
I beg to differ that orange sweet potato and ditalini patties are fast, easy, everyday food.
I'd eat that.
What is that? A Buddha bowl?
Yeah, I'd eat the one on the picture.
What?
Cabbage, broccoli,
Halloumi. Do you reckon that's satay sauce?
Probably.
That looks really nice actually. We'll make one of them. Probably do that with salmon, couldn't we?
No, we do with halloumi.
We'll do it with halloumi, but I'm just saying you could do it with salmon. I am interested in the book of scones though, and pocket pickler. That's a nice book. There are some nice books in here. So in 2026, and you know, every year, I think people make a lot of goals, and some people are really good and thrive off goals and setting them and sticking to them throughout the year, doing kind of rain checks throughout the year and then reflecting at the end. I tried to do that a little bit last year, and I've tried to do it in previous years as well, and I've realised I'm just really not very good at it. I'm not good at journaling, writing things down in hard copy paper books. I think because I spend so much of my time doing things electronically, and I know this is a good thing and a bad thing, but having my phone with me all the time, I just didn't really get on with also having to carry or remember to fill out a paper journal. And so one thing that I did last year, which I thought was great actually, was, do you know the productivity method, which I think is the journal tool that was brought out by Grace Beverley? So she offers those big thick journals. Well, on using the Notion app, she actually sold the productivity method via an electronic method as well. And so my goals, if you like, that I set for last year were really simple ones. These were just daily goals. They weren't more widespread goals than that. But I thought they were super useful because it meant I could do some habit tracking. And when I went to bed every night, I just wrote down ticked off whether I'd done the habits or not. And so I'm just going to have a look while you're here to see how I actually managed my habits. So I had a few things. So I had habits to build and habits to break. And the habits I had to break were, I spent a long time in the last couple of years really doing extended hours at work, which is fine. And I quite like to log on early, get a few things done and out the way. But what happened was that even in the periods when I wasn't busy, because I was so used to just working 12-hour days or however many hours I needed to work to get stuff done, even on the days when I wasn't busy, I was still logging on at 7 a.m. or sometimes even earlier. And so I set myself a goal to avoid logging on before 8:30 a.m. at least twice a week. Because if you just say to yourself, oh, I'm going to log on early less, you don't necessarily do that. But equally saying, oh, stop logging on early, that's not the answer to your problems either. And so what I tried to do was log on early fewer times a week. And actually, as the year went on, that got easier. And so it tracks exactly the percentage of time you've hit the goals. Now, there's a few caveats that I have to bear in mind here. So this is avoid logging on before 8:30 a.m. at least twice a week. And I've done this for 77 days out of 365. So that's 21% of the time I didn't log on before 8:30. But you have to bear in mind that these goals are every week. So if there's 52 weeks in a year and there's I'm really bad at maths, and there's 7 days in a week, but work week there's 5 days, or my work week anyway. So 5 days times 52 weeks is 260 days. And so that's 260 days. And then you have to bear in mind that I've had 5 weeks. Yeah, 5 weeks of annual leave. So that's another 25 days. And then we have 8 bank holidays a year. So that's minus another 8. So that's 227 days. Oh my god, that means I basically hit the goal. So 77 is out of the 227 is 39%. So 39% of the time I hit the goal. And 39% of a 5-day working week is 2 days. So that means I did it. Someone's going to tell me that my maths is wrong. The point is that I actually tracked me doing this, and that's more important to me. I actually made a conscious effort to reduce the time spent logging on early when it's unnecessary to do so, and I tracked when I did that, and therefore I can look back on my year and go, aim for 100 days next year. So my other goals were exercise 3 times a week, Pilates, gym, yoga, combination of any, or 10,000 steps. It said on here that I've done this 184 days and 50% of the time. Now this obviously is over 7 days a week. So if I've done it 50% of the time, I've done 3.5 days a week. So I've hit that, which is brilliant. I say the gym or yoga. I quit the gym and quit yoga, but picked up reformer Pilates and horse riding. So it was basically exercise. Daily stretches for my back and mobility. I did this 268 days, 73%. This one was really important to me because since 2022, I've had some back issues that took me a long time to get diagnosed, even though the diagnosis is now different from what it was when I was receiving the physiotherapy. I try and keep up the daily stretches and mobility just for 5 minutes because I think that is, you know, there's nothing to lose there. 2 litres of water every day. I've done this for 340 days since starting, so that's 93%. And do you know what? It's just coincidence that it's here. But a massive helping factor to me achieving that was this. And this is an Awala bottle. This one is 1.1 litres, I think. So if I have a couple of those a day, I've achieved that already. I received that as a Secret Santa gift that I put on my wish list for Christmas last year. And so I'm so grateful that I got that. And I know it sounds really silly, but me sat refilling small glasses of water every day throughout the day just wasn't working, and I wasn't getting enough. Whereas give me a couple of these to get through a day and I'm like, I can smash through them. So I'm really pleased with that. And then the last one that's on here is the one I told you about first, which was the logging on situation. So I'm actually dead pleased with that. And as I said, I'm not a journaler. I really struggle with, you know, habits and the way I track them and record them. And so I'm going to do this again for this year. And some of the things that I want to include, so I've got some broader goals for 2026. So these were kind of like daily habits. I think I'm going to keep in the exercise. I will count the 10,000 steps, I think, this time. I'm going to keep in the 2 litres of water. I'm probably not going to specifically include the one that was around logging on, because I'm in this new job. It's a completely different setup. I've managed actually really well in more recent times with the logging on situation anyway. And so I'm going to scrap that one. I don't know whether to include the daily stretches one though. I don't think I need to track that one anymore. You know when something, I can't remember who said this, was it Mel Robbins? And she probably got it from somewhere else as well, but you know when if you do something for a number of times in a row, it just becomes part of your daily life. I think the stretching one is that. Goals for this year, they're, as I said, a bit broader, but there's activities that will sit beneath them to help me achieve the broader goals. And my first one is that I want to become pain-free. As I said, I've now found the answers I was looking for in terms of where my pain is stemming from. The medication is working, but there's a few things that I need to do to keep myself pain-free. And that is, you know, hydrate, i.e. the water, maintain a healthy, I say weight, but weight/lifestyle. Some of the things that I've done equally to keep myself fit and strong have also made me unhappy in the way that I look, and also haven't helped with my pain. For example, throwing weights around the gym. That's one of the main reasons I quit the gym. I was the strongest I've ever been, but I also was the thickest that I've ever been. And I didn't like that look on me, but also part of that was probably because I wasn't keeping the nutrition aligned to the weights, the weightlifting program as well. I feel like the other exercises that I'm doing are really, really good for me. So I need to keep up the walking, and I'll come back to that in a sec. And I need to keep up the Pilates. Coming back to the walking, I was in America for over a month on my honeymoon in 2025, and there were some days where we did walk like 35,000 steps, and I was feeling it on those days. But generally speaking, we walked anywhere between 15 to 25,000 steps a day, and I have to say that my back and the pain in like my hip was just not there. And even though I am taking medication, I often still feel a bit stiff, or I can feel it when I've been in bed for too long, and I often can't lie on my back because of it. I lay on my back every night. So there's a lot of things that contribute to the pain-free goal that I really want to keep up this year. Decide on what house we want and work towards it is my second broad goal. And that is very broad, but what I mean by that is that we don't want to stay in this house forever. We love it, but it's the first home that we've bought together, and we've toyed with, you know, the idea of lots of different things over what we want to do and the type of house that we want to live in. And so whilst we're not ready to buy anywhere else yet, I think this year, for a number of reasons, will be a really good opportunity for us to sit down and say, okay, we just want to buy a bigger family home. In which case we can eliminate so many other houses that I doom scroll on Rightmove every day and look at. Or do we want to buy a business? Because that again will change the price range, the areas that we look in, that kind of thing. And so there's probably not obvious specific activities that I'm going to do regarding that goal. Like, it seems quite vague, I recognise that. But some of the other things that I do this year will help us dictate what we want to achieve. So for example, I'm spending a lot of time I've got a new job. So I've got a promotion. That will help us dictate what direction we want to pivot in. You know, we might buy a house that's not too much bigger, but it needs a lot of work doing. It's going to take us a few months to work out whether my new wage will help us with that in any way. TikTok and social media is another goal. And so what I mean by that is that I've been on YouTube for a year and I've loved every second of it, but I need to do more of it and make time for it. I've spoken before about the reasons why I started YouTube, and I think it's very much become a hobby for me now. I really like it. I mean, very few people watch these videos, but I don't mind. Like, I don't care. I just really like chatting about stuff and getting things off my chest, especially when you don't necessarily have a huge group of people around you to talk about those things to all of the time. And also what I've realised is that you're actually pretty invisible on the internet, and so sometimes you can kind of just think about, you can kind of just talk about the things that are in your head that you wouldn't normally say to anyone, but to the camera, as though you're having a conversation with yourself. And I'm good with that. But I have more recently started posting on TikTok, and again, I really enjoy it. No one really follows me. I'm pretty invisible on the internet, but again, like, that's fine, because I really like seeing what other people post, and then I quite like to post with my own spin and that kind of thing. And so I would like to do more of it. It's not really with the intention of to get to X number of followers. Maybe it'd be helpful to set a goal like that, because then I know how hard I've got to work with it. But like I said, it's a hobby, so I don't think it's necessary for me to do that right now. Buy a horse. I have been back to horse riding now for nearly a year. It'll be a year in February that I started lessons. I'm not the perfect rider. I never will be. I never have been. I struggled with confidence a lot when I was a kid, when I was riding, and I continue with that now, but I absolutely love it. I remember coming home from my first riding lesson nearly a year ago and just crying I could tear up now, just crying the whole way home because I was so happy. Crikey, Laura, I'm not even due on my period. I was just so happy that I'd done it. I've been loaning now for about 9 months. I see my loan pony 3 to 4 times a week. So I think that is good enough for me to know that, you know, finances aside, I could manage to keep a horse in decent care and enjoy it and love it. So that is a goal for this year. I'm not there yet. I want to have more lessons. I need to get, you know, the practicalities of owning a horse together before I'm ready. But yeah, that's what I want to do. This is probably the first time actually that I've sat down and said out loud what I think those goals are. And so what I think I probably need to do is spend a little bit of time refining them, putting the goals into Notion, and then doing the activities as the habit tracker that I talked about earlier in terms of last year's goals, and then get on my merry way, because we're already into January. So I need to be tracking these now. So yeah, that's probably enough waffle from me. But as with the festivities, I'd also love to know what your goals are in 2026, or whether you just think, no, I'm not going to have any goals. I'm just going to live my life and do me, because I also love that. Anyway, I hope you have a lovely rest of the evening, and let's catch up soon. And I'll try not to leave it so long next time, okay? Alrighty, bye.